Good evening, Trump's family. Welcome back to my channel. Have a good night, everyone, and God bless you. Alright, let's get into the news. And it looks like Liz Cheney absolutely loves being destroyed every chance she gets, whether it be losing an election by 40 points, or being verbally beat down by Kari Lake. She just seems to walk into an every single time, and of course, Kari Lake this time once again serving up Liz Cheney for an appetizing snack. So let's get and dive into what we have here. It says Lucy by 40 points wasn't embarrassing enough. Now Liz is getting humiliated by Kari Lake again. Here we got, let's see, scroll down here. Well, our girl Kari Lake just community lady Liz Cheney once again by taking an astounding 11-point lead over her opponent. Hops, and here we have the race. And this is a local Arizona poll, not some random outlier. So what exactly is Liz Cheney doing to stop Kari Lake? It sounds to me like she's helping her. I'm not sure why new shows still have Liz Cheney on. She doesn't matter. She lost her race by 40 points. But nevertheless, here's Chuck Todd giving his tired old windbag a platform. Everyone listen to this. Let's play for you. Some you brought up Kari Lake. I want to play for you. Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin was campaigning with her. He was specifically asked by my colleague Garrett Haake about your critique of Republicans that were campaigning with Kari Lake. Here was his response. I believe that every state deserves a Republican governor. In Arizona deserves another Republican governor. A lot of Republicans in the last 3 weeks that I would describe as empathetic to what you've been doing, have suddenly found themselves deciding, hey, party over country, what do you make of those decisions? You know, I think they are really indefensible decisions. And, you know, I've said I think that Glenn Youngkin has done a good job as governor of Virginia. But nobody should be out advocating for the election of people who will not honor the sanctity of our elections process. And, you know, people who do that are in fact putting politics ahead of the Constitution and ahead of the country. So here, it says actually, Kari Lake was convinced that Liz Cheney's remarks about stopping her was the best gift she's ever gotten. I think she was right. The Hill reported that the Arizona Republican gubernatorial candidate Kari Lake on Sunday said her campaign welcomed Liz Cheney, promising to do whatever she could to ensure Lake does not win in November. Lake told Fox News Sunday Morning Futures host that the people of Wyoming can't stand Cheney, and she was sure that the people of Arizona doesn't like Liz Cheney either. That might be the best gift I've ever received, like set of Chinese comments. The Republican Party, the new Republican Party, is the party of we the people. It's no longer about the party of warmongers. Liz Cheney probably should change your voter registration. Turns out she really is a Democrat after all, the Jeep GOP candidate added. Cheney, who recently lost her primary battle against Trump-endorsed challenger, said Saturday she would do everything in her power to ensure Lake does not beat Democrat opponents. Katie Hobbs, also, Doug Mastriano is closing the gap, and President Trump is heading to Pennsylvania to close the deal for Pennsylvania candidates. Yep. Liz Cheney is an absolute terrible person as it is. She cares more about the limelight, cares more about the media. She cares more about all of that. Then she did her own voters and our voters ambassador because of that. And Liz Cheney is going to continue to try to soak up this mainstream media love fest as long as she can and continue to bank off of it. But Kari Lake is the real deal. And Kari Lake is going to win Arizona. And then this is some big news. We have some huge news that's rocking the Senate throughout the nation, but most especially in the swing states. We're gonna take a look at the latest shifts in the polls, and the changing Senate map projections, and see why election forecasters believe we're on the cusp of something historic. You're not gonna want to miss this. We got some earth-shattering polls breaking our way, that have the Democrats absolutely panic. So let's get right into. We've actually got huge news coming out of the liberal state of Washington, which, while hardly a swing state, Washington is one of the bluest of blue states in the nation. This news suggests that literally all swing states are now leaning solidly Republican, which is exactly what the polls are showing. So first, right now Republican Tiffany Smiley and the 30-year incumbent Democrat Patty Murray are tied for the ascendancy. In fact, Smiley is making such a surge that Real Clear Politics Map did the unthinkable as of today. It moved the Washington Senate race from leans Democrat. One poll predicts that right now the Washington Senate race has become ground zero for a wave election upset. The latest Trafalgar poll has Smiley down only by one, well within the margin of error, with several percentages of independents still undecided in Washington. It's worth noting that the vast majority of those undecided give Biden very low approval ratings, and see his policies as largely responsible for the current cost of living crisis. If the majority of those undecideds break toward Smiley, we will be seeing the first Republican senator from the state of Washington in decades. Again, Democrat Patty Murray has been there for 30 years, and this may indeed be her last election. Now, if that's happening in Washington, what about swing states like New Hampshire that were once considered safe Democrat holds in 2022? We'll take a look. Polls there now show that the Republican Don Bolduc has surged into a tie with Democratic incumbent Maggie Hassan. President Trump has come out and given his full endorsement of Bolduc, which should help galvanize the vote among the ultra-MAGA faithful in New Hampshire. So Republicans are really realizing, albeit a bit late, but they're realizing that they have a real shot at taking the seat, which would itself be a massive upset for the Democrats. And this pattern of swing states moving increasingly over to the GOP gets repeated over and over again throughout the nation in the Keystone State of Pennsylvania. Look at this. Dr. Oz has taken the lead over John Fetterman in 4 consecutive polls since the debate. The debate was an obvious disaster for the Democrats without question. I mean, we did a whole video on it. The Wall Street Journal said it best. John Fetterman was the October surprise. He was the October surprise that sunk the Democrats' chances of winning Pennsylvania, so of course, look, we need to be vigilant here. Right? We can't get cocky with Philadelphia's history of, shall we say, voting irregularities. We have to be vigilant that AWS takes Pennsylvania along with Mastriano in the governor's race, but this polling shows a clear shift in Knauss' direction where he may end up winning with a larger percentage than anyone could have imagined literally just weeks ago. And again, we're seeing something comparable happening in the great state of Georgia. In fact, the final AJC poll sees a total Republican sweep-down ticket. They see the GOP winning the Senate seat, the governorship, lieutenant governorship, attorney general, secretary of state, so they're predicting a total romp in Georgia as well as Florida. Democrats have given up on Florida. It's that bad. They've cut off the vast majority of funds for virtually all Florida races. The Democrats are just getting absolutely crushed in the polls down there. Again, we're talking GOP dominance down the ticket. The GOP has massive majorities in their state assembly. In fact, many are saying this may indeed be the election that will finally secure Florida solid red. In state, we're looking at seeing Florida taken off the swing state list and placed under solid red, solid Republicans. Absolutely amazing what Ron DeSantis has done for that state over the last 4 years, swinging back over to the West and Arizona. The betting odds are now solidly behind Blake Masters stealing that Senate seat from Democrat Mark Kelly, and the latest polls, most particularly Trafalgar, have Republican Adam Laxalt stealing the Senate seat from their incumbent Democrat Catherine Cortez Masto. Now, when we look at wider indicators like the generic ballot, okay, these are indicators of how the midterms are going to play out. Things get even worse for Democrats. The New York Times generic ballot poll shows Republicans up by 7 in Arizona, 4 in Georgia, Nevada, and tied in Pennsylvania. And this is because virtually every poll out there shows a massive shift among independents to the Republicans. CBS Hugo showed a 16-point GOP lead among independents. The left-wing data for Progress has a 9-point lead. Suffolk has an 8-point lead minus 12-point lead, and the New York Times Siena poll has a 10-point lead altogether, averaging an 11-point lead for the GOP among independent voters. And that's a lead that most Democrats simply are not going to be able to overcome as things stand right now. So it's no wonder that the betting markets are now predicting a full Republican sweep. They're forecasting a GOP takeover of both the House and the Senate as the RCP forecast map has it right now. They're projecting 53 seats for the GOP in the Senate. They'll see the GOP sweeping all 3 of the contested elections in Georgia, Arizona, and Nevada, while holding on to Pennsylvania, as well as Ron Johnson in Wisconsin, which shouldn't be a problem. The leaves. However, if the Republicans ended up prevailing in Washington state and New Hampshire, we're now looking at a 55-seat majority, which is comparable to what we saw in 1994 with the Gingrich Revolution. So obviously we got huge news breaking here that promises to rock Senate races all across the country. We'll be keeping a very, very close eye on how things develop over the next week. Thanks for joining us on today's episode of Open Source News. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell